Kim Moisner has always been a pet lover, and shortly after she married Frank Bartlett in 1996, she decided to give him a dog for his birthday.
I wanted to get a puppy because I wanted something that we could train and that could grow with us. I thought it would be a neat way to start our married life together with a new little member of our family.
A furry black border collie caught her eye.
In all the reading, it said not to choose a dog based on its appearance, but to choose a dog based on its temperament. So I looked for all those things when I picked out the puppy. He had a good temperament, he wasn't barking a lot. He seemed to do the best of all the dogs, and that's why I chose him.
That night, Kim surprised Frank with the puppy.
He was delighted.
How adorable.
And he was the one who actually gave him the name Fritz.
Come here, little fella.
Fritz was a very cute dog. He seemed to be very intelligent. He became part of our family, a very ingrained part of our family.
Fritz grew into a beautiful dog and a constant companion for the Bartletts.
I took him when I went out on my runs around the neighborhood.
You're such a good puppy.
We'd come home during our lunch breaks to spend time with the dog, so he got a lot of love and attention in our home.
Fritz slept on the bottom of our bed because he seemed comfortable with it, and we were comfortable with it at that time. Then one evening, I reached down to the base of the bed to shift things, and I startled Fritz.
Move, Fritz, move. Ow! He bit me, Kim.
Oh my God.
He bit my finger.
That was really a disappointing shock to us because we had never seen that kind of behavior in the past.
We took him to the veterinarian to find out what's going on, and they did a series of tests and realized that he had arthritis in his front elbows. And they said that that might be causing his irritability is because he can get very sore, especially at night when he's resting.
You silly dog.
The reason we didn't get rid of Fritz was because of the fact he was part of the family, and we wanted to take every measure we could to try and see if we could amend his attitude or that behavior.
But with the birth of their son, Nicholas, Fritz's aggressive behavior could not be ignored.
Kim and I were very concerned about the possibility of something happening between Nicholas and Fritz. So we made a lot of adjustments in how we utilized our house.
Sweet boy.
We put up a baby gate in our front entryway so that Nicholas and the dog couldn't interact when Fritz was sleeping.
But all their precautions couldn't protect Nicholas from his own natural curiosity.
Okay, honey. You ready for lunch?
I had just finished up vacuuming.
Just a minute. Have it ready.
And as I was putting away the vacuum cleaner, I heard...
Startled from a deep sleep, Fritz had bitten Nicholas on the hand.
Fortunately, Frank walked in the door at that time, and I was very panicked.
What's wrong?
Seeing your kid there and hand blood coming from his hands is a really scary situation. I knew we had to take Nicholas to get him checked out because with the scope of his wound, it looked like he needed some stitches.
Nicholas, let me see what you got here. You got an owie? Oh, look at that. Did the dog bite you? Oh, did you bite him back? There you go.
And that time, the doctor said he wanted to call in the surgeon. There was a pretty deep bite.
Okay. Can you wiggle your fingers for me?
On closer examination, the surgeon discovered that the bite had severed a tendon and damaged nerves in one of his fingers. He recommended immediate surgery.
I'll go get him ready.
The scary thing was that there was no prediction as to what that outcome could be. He may have that mobility again, he may not. And so all Frank and I could do was wait and hope that everything turned out for the best.
After 3 hours of surgery, the doctor finally brought the Bartletts good news. Nicholas would make a full recovery.
Everything went just fine.
Fritz's fate, however, was far less certain.
You're gonna need to keep your dog.
Dr. Hall said, this is your family pet. Think twice before you'd put the dog down. He said, that's ultimately your decision, but he said, don't run home and kill your dog.
Frank and Kim were torn. They loved Fritz, but needed to keep Nicholas safe from him. The strain was hard on everyone, especially Fritz.
It was a big change. He didn't get to sleep in our room anymore. We put him in the back guest room when we closed the door. And he had a real hard time with that initially because I think he needs to be with people, as most dogs do, and I think that was challenging for him.
Stay.
It was stressful, depressing. It was just a bad situation. There wasn't a lot I could do. I felt really helpless.
Okay, good boy, Fritz.
Kim's only option was to find Fritz a new home.
I took pictures of him and scanned them into my computer, made posters with his photo on it, and put them all over the veterinary hospitals. I talked to people at the university to see if anybody would be willing to take the dog. Again, I had really no luck because most of the folks that we associated with had small children. You know, no one wanted a dog that bites. As time wore on, it became apparent to me that his days were probably numbered.
We've got to do something about the dog. Fritz has got to go.
I know.
I know it was painful for Kim, but it was also just as painful for me, but it was just dragging the situation on more and more.
And so we decided that he would go to the Humane Society. And I was fully aware that would be the end for Fritz.
On the day Fritz was scheduled to go to the pound, Kim decided to keep him one more night.
And because it was his last night, rather than having him sleep in the guest room, I had him sleep in our room.
That night, the Bartletts went to sleep. And then, hours later, Fritz woke Kim from her sleep.
Fritz started barking very loudly.
What's the matter? Lie back down.
And then he took off out of the bedroom and ran out to the front of the house. So I got up out of bed, and at that point, Fritz had run back to our bedroom again, and I started walking out to the front of the house. As I was walking down the hall, I was thinking that someone might be trying to break into the house. That's all I could think. And that's when it hit me that the house was burning. Smoke billowed into the house.
Quick, call 911!
But the fire had destroyed the phone lines.
The line is down!
Listen, go over to the neighbor's house. Call 911. Come here, now. I'm with Nicholas.
Okay.
Fritz.
And that's when I ran out the front door with Fritz.
Oh my God.
The neighbors had already called 911 and rushed to comfort Kim.
Where are they? Nikki! Frank! Where are
And there was no sign of them.
God, please help us!
My only thought was that something happened inside the house. I didn't understand what would have taken so long.
The intense flames had forced Frank to exit through the back door.
And finally heard someone yell, Kim. And Frank had Nicholas, and he was coming around the side of the house. It was like the weight of the world had been lifted off my shoulders because I knew that they were okay.
Oh my God, I was so scared.
15 unbearable minutes later, the Northeast Lamar Volunteer Fire Department finally arrived. Deputy Chief Hill knew immediately that little Nicholas had barely escaped death.
Their son's bedroom was the closest bedroom to the fire at that time. Typically in a 2-year-old child, the lungs are not as well developed as in a mature child, and he would have succumbed to the smoke much faster than an adult. We asked about smoke detectors. They had not gone off at the time that the Bartletts had left the house, so it became very evident to us that the dog was responsible for getting the family out of the fire. There's no question in my mind that if Fritz was not in that house and out of that fire, that the Bartlett family would have not survived the fire. I think that you can definitely consider Fritz being a miracle.
Such a good boy.
It's really ironic that the dog that caused us the pain and the heartache and the stress was really the dog that ended up, saving our lives, and especially Nicholas.
Deciding to keep Fritz that one extra night had turned out to be a miracle.
I think there is a possibility we could have lost either Nicholas or our lives if Fritz wouldn't have been there at that particular point in time. He was a godsend at that moment in time.
I'm forever grateful to him. And I know he's not a perfect dog, and I know he needs a lot of work. But we want to do whatever we can to give him a quality life as a result of what he's done for us.
Good boy.